Hi everyone, I'm Tom, and today I'm going to be showing you Pilfering Pandas, which is a new card game from Wren Games and Janice and Stu Turner, who have previously put out fantastic co-op solo games like Assembly and Sensor Ghosts. This is their latest game. It's on Kickstarter right now. You can check the link for the campaign page up in the corner. Oh, I nearly got it. And it's in the description if you'd like to check out all the final thing. This is all prototype materials, but it should give you a very good idea of how the final thing will look. In this game, we are a group of pandas that have been planning our escape from the zoo, but we need help. We need food from all of the other animals. These cards represent, the loot that they have, the help they can give us in escaping. But we haven't got much time. The zookeeper, of course, is after us, and so we need to get our food to the meerkats, the fences that are going to take all of this filched food and help us make good our escape. To do this, we need sets of cards for the meerkats. We have hands of cards here. We will be drawing new ones every turn, trying to get nice runs of cards. There is a competitive version and a solo stroke cooperative version. I'll show you the competitive version first and then the cooperative one afterwards. So the first thing you do on a turn is refresh your hand. You can take a card just from the top of the deck. It's a mystery. You can take the last card in the hideout here, this kind of common area where we can take cards from. Or you can take loads of consecutive cards from the hideout as well, a special multi-card pickup. So taking food from the hideout is a bit dangerous because the zookeeper is onto us. If you just take one card from the hideout, has to be the last one, it has to stay in your hand or be used for something this turn. You can't just put it straight back in the hideout at the end. If you take multiple cards from here, it has to be consecutive. So I could take all three if I wanted, but the zookeeper gets suspicious. You have to take this timer card, and basically you can't do another multi-card pickup while you've got this. You've got this until somebody else does a multi-card pickup, then they take it off you, or when 3 rounds have passed, you can do it again. So I might want to maybe take this 7. I've got a couple of fox cards already. Maybe I'd want to try and build up some of them. Then we can perform actions. You can create a new set by playing 2 or more cards to your meerkat area. Sets have to be at least 3 cards. Now, sets can either be consecutive numbers, so ascending or descending numbers of the same suit, or the same number in a lot of different suits. So the suits are the animals. The numbers matter for counting for the runs, either the same or consecutive numbers. And underneath, we have a certain number of panda points as well. So I could, to start my very first set, I could say, so these key cards are wild. They can be anything you like, as long as they're not replicating a card that's already part of the set. So I couldn't say, I want to do a set of 3 ones, and this is going to be the elephant one. You wouldn't have to do that, of course, but it has to represent a different card. So this could be a 1 of foxes, for example. I could play that set because they're matching numbers from different suits. I could play 5, 6, 7 foxes right there, and that would count as a suit as well. So if I was to play this as my first suit, it would be worth 1, 2, 3, 4 panda points, and I would advance my panda point tracker there. I can also, as an action, extend a set that's already out there. So if in the future I got the Fox 8, I could just do an action to add that to the end of that set, and I would get 1 more panda point, because that's what the 8's worth. Now, what you can also do as an action is swap out a key card anywhere on the table, so in anyone's meerkat area. So if Marty, for example, had... Where is Marty? There he is. If he had the Fox 6 there, he could, as an action, play that into my meerkat area. It's made no difference to me because this set's already been played. And he could get this key card into his play area now. So maybe the Fox 6 was no good to him. I've played a lot of the other Fox cards, but this key card can be anything now to play for one of his sets. And you can also pass. You can do as many actions, basically, as you can. Now, when you are making more sets, you can use the last card that's in your meerkat area as the first card of the new set that you're playing. So I could, on a future turn, if I'd gathered a load of 8s, I could play these as one more set, including this 8, and I would get the points from it as well. So that would be 5 more panda points. But an even more efficient way of doing it would be to play just these 2 as an action. You have to play at least 2 cards, remember, to make a set of 3. So I would play these for 3 points, and then as another action, I could play these 2 for 3 more points. So I've got an extra point from reusing another one of those cards. Now, if I didn't want to reuse the number on the end, I want to make a completely new set that's nothing to do with that 8, I've still got to have a number or a suit in common with my last card. So you can stifle yourself a bit. So if I wanted to go from here, I'd have to have something like, say, an 876, which I would be allowed to do because that would match the number there. And then I would have to go off something that's, 6 elephant in the future, whether that's been a key card or replaced. Now, you're never allowed to play a set that would leave you with less than 2 cards in your hand, because usually, unless you're ready for the end of the game, you have to play one of the cards from your hand back into the hideout, whether you took one from there at the start or not. Now, we keep going on this until someone can meet the final escape check. See, we have our meerkats here. As soon as there are 10 or more cards in our meerkat trade area, and we've got 0 cards in our hand, the game will end. Alternatively, if there are no cards left in the loot deck, the game will end as well. Then at the end of the game, you've got all the points you've earned from the sets that you have played. We each have panda cards that can reward us with extra points if we have met their goal. So, Vian and Rule here are the playful pandas. They'll give me 3 points if one of my number sets contains 2 or more meerkat suit preferences. Which I mentioned, my prototype has only got the suit preferences on the cooperative side, so you can ignore this bit. The panda has 3 set preferences, particular suits that they would like you to play, and you can get extra points if a set of yours has all of those things in. And whoever has the most points here wins. And now here is the cooperative version of the game. This time we are collectively working as pandas, but we are being chased by the nefarious zookeeper. I picture the hunter from Jumanji, but feel free to picture whoever you like. We are going to be trying to progress along this path to earn enough points to then get rid of at least one person's cards so we can escape the zoo. Every time we do things, we're going to advance the zookeeper marker a certain number of spaces and hope that he doesn't catch up to us. You'll notice the meerkats and the pandas have been switched to their cooperative sides, and instead of an extra goal to score more points, our pandas now provide us with one-time benefits that we can use. Like Alfie here can let you look at the top 3 cards of the loot deck and put them back in any order. Emmett lets you give or exchange a card with another player. There is also a solo version that uses the co-op rules. There are a few extra things for that. You start in a different place on the track. You have a secret stash hand, which simulates a second player's hand there. But largely, you should get a good idea from the co-op game. The loot deck is made a little bit smaller depending on the player count. If you're playing with 2 players, like this is set up for here, then you take all the 8s and 9s out, and you only have 3 of the key cards, which is why it's surprising that 2 of them have come out straight away. So at intro difficulty, we are aiming for 29 points to be eligible to try and start the escape. We also have these foiled plans cards. A certain number of these will be shuffled in depending on the difficulty that you are playing with, 2 in the intro difficulty, and they can add, problems for us, basically. I don't know why that word was so hard to find. So clear out, if you have any key cards in your hand, you have to play them this turn, or there is bonus haul that puts extra cards into the hideout and then shuffle them all together. So if you were just about to get something, if the previous player maybe had just put something in there that's just in the right place for you to get, then now they're all shuffled about and you're going to have to think about maybe doing a multi-card pickup. So like in the competitive game, on your turn, you can pick up a new card. It can be from the loot deck, it can be the last card in the hideout, or you can do a multi-card pickup, pick up as many as you like, well, start from a card and then pick up all the rest of them, so I could pick up all of them if I wanted to, but that is going to move the zookeeper 4 spaces forward on this track and give me the raised suspicion card, like if I really wanted these things. The raised suspicion card means if I do another multi-card pickup, it's got a +2 on there, the zookeeper's going to move 6 spaces instead. And I flip it. So if I do another multi-card pickup, the zookeeper will move 8 spaces instead. I can get rid of this card if, say, Marty were to do a multi-card pickup, it would get flipped back to its +2 side and go to him instead. So if I did the multi-card pickup, I wouldn't have the big penalty. Performing actions is done in a very similar way. You're trying to make sets and you're trying to give them to meerkats, but they aren't, our individual meerkats anymore. They are communal. There are 2 out here, but we are all playing to these meerkats. You decide which one you want to play sets to. They've got their requirements. They've got their favourite things. A set that you play has to have at least one card of one of those types in as the first card. If you play a set with all 3 types in, you get an extra panda point. So if I was to draw from the deck on my turn, and I get a 6, so now I can play... Oh, this hasn't been set up at all. Now, I could play as my set. You have to have 3 cards. The starting set has to be one of these. So the starting card could be blue, and I could play these 6s out here, and the pandas underneath them are still panda points. I would get 4 panda points, which I record on the track. It moves us away from the zookeeper. Now, say I hadn't made sure that the 6 was at the top of the deck there, I would probably have used a key card, maybe, to do a set, to treat this as another 6, so I'd be allowed to do that. But key cards now are 2 movement for the zookeeper and no panda points for us. So it allows you to play the set, so I would only get 3 points rather than 4, but the zookeeper would get to move a couple as well. When you've played the set, you look at the meerkat limit. If there are 1 to 6 cards in the trade area, the zookeeper moves 1 point. If there are 7 or more cards in here, it's going to move 3 points. So we want to try and balance out between the trade areas as well, so we don't trigger massive movement for him. And the same things apply, like on Marty's turn, he can get all of his new cards and stuff. He could extend this set and get a point, but the zookeeper would move a point then. What he can do, though, is not add to the set, though. Just like before, play that 6, get the key card back in his hand. As an action, you can discard key cards from the game now, right back to the box, and the zookeeper moves back 2 spaces. So didn't earn any points from extending a set or anything, but that set the zookeeper back more than the 1 panda point would have been worth. You can still, reuse the last card in a set, or, if you want to make a new set. So if Marty had this 6, he could maybe do the 6, 5, 4, because he's allowed to play this new set because the number matches. We'd have to worry a little bit then. We'd get 3 more panda points, but we'd have to worry now because this set would have 6 cards in it. Any more to it, and he's going to start moving 3 per time. At the end of every turn, the zookeeper is also going to move a space. So we don't have to play sets all the time, and you probably won't be playing them every turn because you'll be trying to draw the right cards. At the end of your turn, you still have to play something into the hideout, so you're juggling cards between you and things like that. But there are, of course, some communication rules. You can't just say whatever you like. You can talk about anything that's public knowledge, so the hideout cards, the trade area cards, and you can talk about how close you are to getting out. Everyone can see the scores, everyone can see how many cards are in your hand. But you can't talk about specific things in your hand. You can't talk about the suits. You can't talk about your strategy, what you're looking for, what you're going for. And you can't say that you need a specific card unless it's, on display and we can see it in the hideout. You can talk about the numbers. You can say, I need a 4, but everyone's going to have to try and intuit which 4 you need. After someone has played a set, you could say, I'd prefer it if you put a certain card last. So maybe when I did these 6s, Marty might have wanted the red to be last rather than the purple to help him play a future set. But within those limitations, you need to work together to try and get as many points as you can, really. As soon as someone has played enough cards to have none in their hand, they get the timer card with the 4 on it when it's straight up like this. Every time it comes back to that player's turn, or every time that another player gets no card in their hand, this gets rotated. This means the zookeeper knows about the plan, he's discovered our ruse, and he is after us. There's no more raised suspicion once he knows about us. He's not suspicious anymore, he knows. But if this gets down to 0, we lose. So as soon as someone has emptied their hand, we have 4 turns at the most going back to them where we need to perform a final win check. To be eligible, we have to have earned enough points for our difficulty level. So we'll say 29 for our difficulty level. At least one player has to be out, has to have no cards left in their hand. And the zookeeper can't have caught us yet, because that'd mean we'd lost. If we've met all of these conditions, we can try a final escape check. For that, we have to gather everyone's cards that are left in their hands, because only one person has to have played everything. And then, for every point that's left over here, so say the zookeeper had gotten quite close to us, for every panda point left in everyone's hand, the zookeeper moves an extra space. So in this case, because Marty had 4 points in his hand, the zookeeper would catch up to us. So we would probably not want to do the final check, help Marty play some of these cards, or at least draw a card like this from the hideout and play that to that at the end, so then he'd have one fewer panda point in his hand, just so we are ahead of the Zookeeper at the end when we've met the other conditions. Because if we are still ahead of the Zookeeper at this point, we win. There are plenty of ways to adjust the difficulty. You can change the meerkat limit to 5 instead of 6. You can play without these to make it easier or put more of them in. You can randomly take out some cards from the loot deck so you don't quite know what's there. The cards you're after might have been put back in the box in setup. And so that is cooperative Pilfering Pandas. I hope all of that has given you a good idea of what the game is like and whether you would be interested in it. Again, the campaign page is linked in the description where you can see all of the lovely final stuff. They'll have a score tracker that's been printed better and been cut more straight. I'm sorry, I'm using right-handed scissors and I'm left-handed. I need to go to the leftorium, clearly. Or we just need to make everything for left-handed people, because we're the cool kids, right? Anyway, I was supposed to be talking about this game. Thank you very much for watching. If you are just here for the facts and you are not fussed about what I think, fair enough. I respect your opinion. Maybe you'd like to see some of the playthroughs that I've done, like Assembly and Sensor Ghosts, also from Ren Games. But if you would like to know what I think, here is that thing now. I'm always excited for Ren Games things after Assembly and Sensor Ghosts, and as well as a pretty cool, different kind of theme. I love the artwork and the design of this game. I mean, again, this is all a prototype and this is a sketch, and I just printed it off my printer. Yeah, I didn't cut it very straight, did I? But even with all the prototype stuff, the art is there for all the cards and everything. I love this kind of, what is it, like origami, like digital origami kind of style of the animals. It's so cute, it's so beautiful. It works so well in the game, especially with its theme of these thieving pandas trying to work with all of the other animals and trying to trade it all to the meerkats so they can help them escape. The theme especially comes across well in the cooperative game as well, where we've got this Zookeeper bearing down on us every time we try and do things, so you've got to try and maximize your actions while the communication is very limited. It's very good at putting you under pressure, at making what you want difficult to do. It's just about in reach, but you need another card from here. You need a multi-card pickup from the hideout, and can you afford to do that? Can you afford to be locked out of it for ages in the competitive game, or give the Zookeeper loads more movement? Is it worth really waiting for that and wait till we get a key card so we can discard it to set him back a little bit, just to get a bit more breathing space? He is constantly catching up in the cooperative game. I never really played, especially probably the time when we played the most kind of standard deck card games was when I was little and played them with my nan. We played things like Patience and Clock. Clock isn't really that much of a game, but I never played things like Rummy. So I am newer to them. I feel like I've been a hindrance rather than a help to Rach in our games of this. But I will learn. We haven't got a very good escape rate in it. The Zookeeper is quite crafty, but he's out of Jumanji. He should be. It's a really clever system of trying to build these things up, of trying to, in the competitive game, you're trying not to pass on things that you think other people might be able to use. In the cooperative game, it's completely the opposite. Even though you don't quite know what they've got in their hands, you can maybe vaguely know a number they want, but you've got to guess whether it's going to be completely useful to you, and maybe you're going to make it worse for them by covering up something that they were going to get, and now they've got to get a multi-card pickup in it instead. It's a really, really cool system. I think it's great that it works in both of those forms as well, and solo too, which is the cooperative version with a few tweaks, and it's all wrapped up in such a beautiful package. So that Pilfering Pandas, the campaign page, again, is linked in the description. I will get better at this pointing perspective thing. I hope that gave you a good idea of what the game is like and whether you'd be interested in finding out more. There are hundreds more videos on this channel if you would like to check some more out, including videos for Assembly, which you could check out as well, and Sensor Ghosts. But I will say goodbye for now, and thank you very much for watching. Bye, everyone.